Yad Vashem in Jerusalem, and they gave me the.
Oh, these are the names of the camps that you were in?
Yeah.
Sakrau?
Sakrau, Brande, Greditz, Nemsch, Klettendorf, Schmiedeberg, and Waldenburg. 2, 4, 6, 7. And these were the original Polish names of the localities that were then renamed.
So you were in Waldenburg when you were liberated?
Yeah. And there is, the page.
Is there a picture of the camps you were in this book?
Of Waldenburg?
Or of any of the camps that you were in? Are there pictures?
There's a plan of it somewhere here. I'm not sure where it is. Oh, Gross-Rosen. Well,
were you there? Were you this one?
Yeah. Like in Auschwitz, there was a central camp. One of them was the extermination camp, of course. But there was also Auschwitz-Buna, for instance, where they made artificial rubber. My father was in Auschwitz, called Blechhammer, where they tried to make artificial gasoline from shale, and that they never got there because the Allies came and bombed it out. Every time they were ready to go, twice bombed it out. And so my camp was Waldenburg, which was part of the camp of Gross-Rosen, which is just a sketch here. And yeah,
this looks like this. You remember this, obviously, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, sure. So the people, for instance, that became sick in my camp in Waldenburg could no longer work. They were sent to Gross-Rosen, and they had in Gross-Rosen I can't read that wrong. I had cataracts taken out. They don't have the proper glasses yet. They had maybe it's here. They had a
mausoleum, crematorium.
They had a crematorium, but they also had a wall against which the people were lined up and just machine gunned, and then
burned,
cremated. And I don't know where it's indicated here.
Yeah, it says it right here. It says 4 cremator, number 2.
Okay. Well,
so there, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So that must be the old. That must be it. No. That's that thing.
Yeah, that was just sort of a look.
Maybe this is it.
That's a crematorium.
Yeah.
That was the entrance. Yeah. But this is a remarkable book. I've held on to that one, and it's very interesting.
Oh, look at this!
Prison camps.
So where were the ones that you were in?
Oh my! I can't see this.
Well, were you in Poland? You were in Poland or Czech? The camps you were in.
They were all in here. Right. So, the small camps are not mentioned here.
I see.
Just the major camps. But if you look at, if you can find the city of Breslau, which is somewhere here.
Breslau, is that in Poland or Czech?
It's now in Poland, but it used to be in Germany.
Breslau, I don't see it here.
Down here somewhere?
Sagen, there's Breslau. There it is, Breslau.
Okay. Well, just south of Breslau was Waldenburg.
I see.
So each one of these major camps was surrounded by sub-camps, you might say. Waldenburg was one of them. But the interesting thing is that after the war, I was contacted. So I looked something like that.
Oh, let's see.
Right.
So,
you look like that.
Yeah. I weighed 87 pounds when I came out of this. And I know this because the Red Cross had stations there. It must not be in here. But
this is a great book.
I was contacted by a man whom I didn't know, who happened to be in Waldenburg. I mean, there may have been, I estimate, maybe 2,000 people in that campus. And he caught me he found me somewhere and wanted to stay in touch with me. And so, look at that. He went back, actually, to Waldenburg at one point to do some research. I never did that. I want to get out and stay out. But what he found is a register that had been discovered by the Germans with the people who were prisoners there. And he sent me a copy of it. The Poles had discovered that after the Soviets came in, and we were liberated. And in one of my suitcases with souvenirs, I have a copy. I may have the copy that he sent me. And under a running number so-and-so, my name is listed, and then my concentration camp number, which was 64,757. And I looked at that, and it really gave me the shivers to see my name on that list, you know.
What was the number?
64,757. And
wow.
Tim's son, you met Tim upstairs, his son came to me, sent me an email several years ago. He said, "Granddad, would you mind if I had this number tattooed on my arm?" Now, I was flabbergasted. I said, "Who would want that, you know, big, crazy?" So I asked him, you know, why would you want that? And he said, "Well, you know, your history is also my history." And he had it tattooed on his arm right here. Of course, people ask him, you know, what's that number?
Wow.
So he explains.
Do you have a tattoo on your arm?
No. In my camp, nobody was tattooed.
None
of the camps. There were only 5 to 6 camps, like Buchenwald and Auschwitz, and
where they did that.
Yeah. And we were numbered. We had a number sewn on here. And I'm not sure in which camp that actually happened, because for 3 or 4 camps we kept clothing, and when our clothing fell apart, they just gave us probably clothing from Auschwitz where people were killed, you know. And so the first blue-white striped thing, you've seen that on television.
Yeah.
Sure.
This that it?
Here, yes.
This thing.
Right.
That's blue. That color is blue.
In fact, this is an interesting page, because the first camp that I was in Sakrau, I worked in a sand quarry, and we filled trucks like that, little trucks like that, that were then pulled by locomotive and dumped, and we made the Autobahn.
You were working for a company, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was a company that was paying for this. Yeah. Which company was it? A German company was hiring these people, and at slave wages.
They paid the government, you know.
They paid the government to hire these workers.
Pfennige.
And they do that here in the United States, by the way. The prisons sell their prison labor for cents on the dollar to make shoes or whatever they do.
No, we did this kind of work, basically. So this is, I cherish this book because I see.
What is it? Can you show me the title of the book?
La
Deportación. Can I see who wrote it?
Sure. And that was the blue-white striped stuff. You know.
That's a very clever inside cover.
Let's see who wrote the book.
Preface. I don't know where it is.
It's a French book.
Yeah. This is the very first book that I bought about the Holocaust. Well, maybe that's all there is here.
Is it possible to written by many authors or several authors?
It could be a reference. I want to get a copy of that book.
It's an excellent book. It's French, of course, but I mean
the pictures in here, you don't see these pictures in the American.
It covers
who are these people?
Pictures of Germans or French people.
French resistance.
Yeah, French resistance and collaborators.
What is this? What is that?
This was a typical Streicher kind of Le Juif et la France, the Jews and France. Propaganda. Anti-Semitic propaganda, you know. This was all the French president. Marshal Pétain was a First World War hero, you know. And when the Nazis came into Europe, they occupied first just the northern half of France. That became German occupied territory. But the southern part was called Vichy France. And the Vichy is a town. And Marshal Pétain was the head of the Vichy government. And he was a collaborator, basically. He turned out to be a traitor. And then in 1942, the Vichy part became German too. And Le Chambon was in the Vichy government, the southern part there. And, well, they didn't collaborate. I mean, they said no. And it's remarkable people.
De Gaulle was one of the, was he not one of the leaders?
De Gaulle went to England. De Gaulle actually ran the French government in exile, you might say. So he had lots to do with the underground, you know, that resisted Hitler, of course. It was a significant underground in France. They called them the Maquis. And they killed a lot of French. As you know, the Czechs did too. There's one town in Czech, the German general who was actually charged in 1942 with the elimination of the Jews was a man by the name of Reinhard Heydrich. And Heydrich came to what used to be Czechoslovakia, was occupied by the Germans, of course. And in a town by the name of Lidice, he was assassinated by the Czech underground. And the Germans came in and erased that little town. I mean, plowed it over. There's nothing left of that town. There's just a memorial stone, you know, and that's it. I mean, they did things like that in France too. You know, when somebody was killed, and they knew this happened in a certain town, they just totally eliminated the town. And
it's cultural terrorism.
Oh, absolutely, just incredible. It's a new generation now.
Yes. I think it's a bit beyond that.
And I've spoken to Germans, you know, on several occasions, on trips. When we lived in Europe, you know, we traveled to Germany, to Austria. So I ran into Germans now and then, and they were all okay. But let me tell you something else. Here in Weaverville, this is our second house in Weaverville. We lived in a place called High Country. It's about 10-15 minutes from here, in Weaverville. And we bought a house there, which was very nice. It was just 3 years old, you know, practically new. And then there came in somebody who built a house right across from us. When I say Bavarian style, can you identify with that?
I can picture it in my head, kind of, yeah.
It's a beautiful style, you know, where
the half-timbered, like, exposed.
Well, like the structural parts, the beams are exposed. They're out, you know, in the wall. You can see it's very, very beautiful. So when I saw that being built, I said, "Uh-oh, who's coming?" You know. And sure enough, it was a German couple that came, older than I. And whenever I run into Germans in this country that are older than I said, "Uh-oh, where were they during the war?" You know. Right. And sure enough, it was a German couple that moved in. And then I found out that not far from there was another German couple living. And every time I drove by that house, I had a bad gut feeling. And then I once ran into the wife of the other couple. It was some kind of a local affair going on. Her name was Ursula. Good German name, right? And so she found out that I was from Europe, and she came up, "Oh, Sie sind Europäer?" Ja, sie sind ein Europäer. Ja, woher sind Sie? Ich bin aus der Czechoslovakia. Started speaking German. And then she said to me, "And do you believe what these history books are telling us? about how the Germans treated the Jews. Do you believe that?
Oh.
And I said to her, well, I happen to have been in 7 concentration camps. If anything, it's understated what you heard, you know. And she just shook her head. She said, unglaublich.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. You know, and I never talked with a woman again. And I came home and I told Gail, I want to move out of this neighborhood.
Oh, man.
No, seriously. I mean, it was just a house and a second house. And one house looked Bavarian style. And every time I saw these people, I wanted to walk up to them and ask them, hello, you know, where were you? But Gail said, don't do it, you know, it's not worth it. Well, so if you know that he was a SA or SS person, so what are you going to do? You know? And so I never did. But part of the reason why we're here is because of that.
Because of those people.
Yeah. I had this gut reaction that...
I guess if you're going to build your house in that type of style, I mean, it is a beautiful style, but there's got to be some form of nationalism present in your...
Exactly.
Yeah. You don't want to integrate entirely with American society.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, they kept it beautifully. I mean, a German way. I mean, everything is just beautiful, you know, perfect. But I didn't feel it was worthwhile being irritated every time I drive by the house, you know. So.
You don't blame me at all.
So that explains why we're here. It is partially so.